Welcome to the Are All Bullies Bad podcast, challenging perceptions and shifting paradigms.
Hi guys, Simeon Callum here again from the AABB Bullies Bad Team. On this episode, we're going to be discussing how to unlock your true potential and all the things that it requires to get into that frame of mind. As usual, I'm going to hand over to Cal to do the social platforms.
Yeah, guys, as always, we really appreciate your feedback and your comments. They all get read and we use them to make the podcast more relevant. So we've got the Gmail, which is the AABB Team @gmail.com. We've also got the YouTube channel, which we hope you guys are listening on now. And if you are, don't forget to subscribe. It's AABB Team. And then we've also got the Instagram, and it's @AABB Team. So as always, thanks for the feedback and the comments. We really appreciate it. We appreciate you listening. So let's get into it, Sim.
Yeah, let's do it. So, unlocking your true potential. And as always, Cal, I think it's best that we start off with the actual definition of the word.
Yeah, it's a good place to start.
So, what I've found, and I asked Google, what is potential? And it's told me having or showing the capacity to develop into something in the future. Or I've just seen something that you've jotted down, and I like your explanation better than the dictionaries. If you don't mind just telling us what you've put down, and then I'll carry on. Yeah,
so for me, from a sort of layman's term, I've always considered potential to be the unrealized abilities within an object or a person. And the biggest thing there is the word unrealized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because that, to me, pretty much sums up potential. When you live in your potential, you've realised it, but potential is always the thing that's yet to be realised.
Exactly.
With the right nurturing and the right support, only then can potential be lived and come to fruition.
Yeah, it's true. So now that we understand that, I guess the next step is, finding out what your personal potential is, or your personal true potential, because it's actually today is about finding your true potential, not just any potential. So I think first things you have to do is start by asking yourself, what is your passion, or what are you passionate about? I know a lot of us, we go to work on a daily basis just to make ends meet.
Just to get by, don't we?
Yeah, to get by. Yeah. But if you ask, I mean, this isn't statistic, but if you ask 100 people, I guarantee probably 80 of them would say, I don't like my job.
Yeah, I think it's like 70% of Americans, isn't it?
I've
seen that statistic somewhere. Don't quote me on that, but I'm sure I have seen it somewhere on the internet.
Yeah. So therefore, we have to ask, what is your passion? What are you passionate about? What do you like to do? What do you think, if I didn't have to go to work today, I would love to do this all day, every day. It would bring me joy and time would just fly by. What is that thing?
Yeah, I think the enabler to unlocking your potential is finding your passion.
Exactly. Yeah.
I truly believe that everybody has hidden potential within them.
They do.
A lot of the times we don't have the self-belief.
Yeah.
We doubt ourselves or we feel inadequate and we don't feel worthy enough to live out our potential.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, like you've just said, we scramble around never knowing what our passion is.
Exactly.
And therefore we don't unlock our true potential. And it's such a shame. It really is. And you've mentioned about people going to jobs they don't enjoy. If one thing I heard very recently when I was watching a Jay Shetty clip on YouTube was just look at the person that's 20 years advanced in your career and just look at them for a second or two and just ask yourself, is that where you want to be?
Exactly.
Do you see yourself in that person in 20 years' time? And if the answer's no, then you need to find a new path.
Yeah.
And I think that's great advice, because if anything, it saves you 20 years. Don't wait 20 years just to get there and realise, actually, this wasn't for me. And this environment that I find myself in is not conducive to me realising my true potential.
Yeah, exactly. So therefore, what we're asking you to do is go out there and find that passion. What is that thing that you cannot stop thinking about on a daily basis or hourly basis? What is it? I'm asking you that now. I want you to ask yourself that question and come up with an answer and just write it down, find what it is. And then let's start to move forwards, guys. And that's the first step, I guess, to unlocking your true potential, finding your true passion.
It pays when you're doing something like when Sim's asking these questions, guys, just get a pen and paper.
Yeah.
Or even if you like sort of, you know, commuting or you're on the train or you're traveling, get your phone out and get the notepad out and just start
Very
jotting
easy
some
this day and
ideas
age.
down. Because if you're anything like me and you keep everything in your mind, it's very easy to forget.
Yeah.
And you'll get an idea and a few hours later, that many different thoughts can come into your head that before long you've lost that idea. Whereas writing it down or capturing it in a notebook application on your phone, it's there forever then, and you can always revert back to it when you've got a bit more time to spend a little bit more sort of quiet time going through some of the questions that Sim's asking you.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like in this day and age, it's very easy. You've got phones at hand, iPads at hand. So there's never an excuse not to be able to jot down a few bits and bobs. And especially if you feel passionate about it, then you definitely want to start doing that. And believe me, it does help because you can always come back, compare where you've gotten to where you first started asking yourself the question and various other things. But so now that we've spoken about what that thing might be, or whatever it may be, now how can the potential be unlocked? You know, what can we do now?
This is like the key in the lock, innit?
Exactly.
So the
key's
like,
in.
I have like when you just said that, I'm thinking of like an old pirate's treasure chest.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we've got it here in front of us, but how do we get inside that? What is that key?
Exactly.
You know, and you're looking for that one thing. I think you've already said it in a way, Sim. I think you've already summed it up in terms of the passion. So you find your passion and you're halfway there to creating that key. And bolted onto that key, you've got to have the self-belief.
Exactly.
And I think those two things put in the lock can unlock the treasure chest of potential.
We'll unlock it.
Yeah. But there's other things. And,
Also,
and I'm looking forward to getting into them in a minute.
there's always more. There's always more. So, we've talked about the key going in the lock. And I feel like the stage of the conversation we are now, it's about turning that key in the lock.
Yeah.
And getting ready to embrace whatever it is that you have on the other side of that padlock.
Yeah. What have you got in your treasure chest that's just waiting to be unlocked?
Exactly. And once you've done that, you're going to have to realize that this is just the start. Even though you found what it is that you want, it's just the start. Now this is where the hard work comes into play. And I'm not just talking off the top of my head. I've done these things ourselves. I mean, for example, before me and Cal started doing these podcasts, we used to meet up. You've probably heard us saying the ones in the past. We used to meet up down at a local church. Not due to anything religious. It was just a space that we could use for free at the time. Yeah. So we met there. We spoke often. It was about an hour or two every Friday night. Yeah. And we said, we feel like this can go more. Well, Callum said, in fact, I feel like people should pay us for our conversations because there were quality conversations that we were having. And we were passionate about meeting. We was discussing the books we were reading. We was watching YouTube clips. And we said, let's take this further. Let's do something more with this. And looking back, that was about, what was it, 6, 7, 8 months ago? Yeah, it must be about 7, 8 months ago. And even after that conversation, what always happens once you have a great idea or you have this drive to do something, things pop up to stop you. Yeah. And that's life. I'm sure everyone can relate to that. Things pop up. You have this great idea, right? I'm going to start going to the gym. Guess what happens? The car breaks down. Or daughter falls ill, or something will pop up to challenge you, to ask you, these are all things. Yeah, these are all things that just because you've got the key to open that treasure chest, that's not to say that it's going to remain open. It's going to be easy to remain open. Yeah. There will be challenges and there will be people trying to slam that treasure chest shut. Exactly. And things or events will sort of conspire against you. And it's how you sort of have the resilience mentally to keep going. Sim says there, we used to meet up sort of 8 months ago to discuss the potential of a podcast. Yeah. So we sat talking and we got the idea that what we're discussing has the potential to impact thousands of people. If the hope would be to impact millions of people. That's a dream for us. Definitely. But we could have very easily left that church and left this as an idea in our minds. And that's the difference. It's going into action. It's not just coming up with an idea where you say, oh, that's a great idea and it has potential, but then you leave it as just an idea. Yeah. It is about implementing on your ideas.
And we've always said 2019, it's action time.
Exactly.
This is like
It's
some
action time,
mantra that me and Sim have come up with when we're WhatsApping each other.
Definitely.
It's action time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say we've realised the potential just yet. I think this whole thing has got way, way, way more potential than, you know, that we're seeing just yet. And that's what's keeping us hungry, because we want to realise that potential.
Yeah.
And that keeps us so focused and so driven. And that's why we're always passionate about making sure these podcasts give you something tangible, some tools that you can go away. And just the questions that Sim asked at the very beginning here, it's so important that you sit down with yourself and just really think about these questions. What is it that you can't stop thinking about, that every morning you wake up and you just wish that could be your life and you could do that one thing day in and day out? And not only that, get people to pay you for it. Because to me, that's living. That's not just existing. That's actually living your passion. And if you can impact people through that, then you've won. Yeah. I think you've won the lottery of life.
Definitely. I mean, what I take from that, Cal, find your passion, unlock your potential. And, I don't think that your true potential, and this is what we're talking about, I keep emphasizing the true, you unlock your true potential. You cannot find your true potential without your passion. And again, I want to hear what the listeners want to, what's your opinion on that, the listeners? How do you feel about what's just been said? Do you agree? Is there anything that you can say, hang on a minute, yeah, I agree with that, but that's not quite right? Please comment, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. All the comments get read, and we really try to engage with all the listeners. So again, thank you for
it's always appreciated, guys.
Yeah. So find your passion, unlock your potential. So I think some of the things that we can say in unlocking your true potential is belief in yourself. Again, and it's another thing that we've discussed time and time again. Most things that we want to do in life, they start with belief in yourself and your own ability. And without that belief, it is very difficult to move from step 1 to step 2 to step 20. So first things first, belief in yourself, believe in your passion. Jot down. I always talk about getting things down in black and white, whether that be your phone or your paper and your pen. Get things down. Start a goal or target strategy. How are you going to get there?
Yeah.
How are we going to get there? You can't just say, right.
You've got to have a plan.
Yeah. You can't just say, right, I'm going to fly to the moon and that's it.
Yeah.
Well, how are you going to do it? Who are you going to approach to get you to that? You know what I mean? So, let's get a plan set in stone. And again, there's no time like the present, guys. As you're listening to this podcast, if you have a pen and paper at hand, jot something down now. If you have your phone at hand, jot something down now.
Yeah. It's like I said at the start of this podcast, look at the person if you're a career person and you've got sort of managers or directors and you're on that career path and you're looking at them and you're seeing 20 years down the line, that's going to be you. Is that really what you want? And if the answer's no, then start to answer these questions that Sim's asking you. We're not saying hand your notice in and leave. No, obviously, we've got responsibilities. We've got to do things mindfully of the impact on other people and those around us. But what we're saying is you can forge a lifestyle while still remaining in your current situation. Of course. You don't need to let anybody know about that. You don't need to go and blast it all over social media. No. You can keep this desire to yourself and work on it and work on it and work on it in the hours when people are sleeping. That's the hours when you're at peace and you can wake up 2 or 3 hours earlier than everyone else and you can work on your dream and go to work, go to your job 9 till 5 and put on a smiling face, knowing that behind the scenes you're creating a lifestyle that you've designed and it's almost like fueling the fire.
Yes, of course.
With the passion, with your passion being that fire, you're spending those hours, early hours in the morning or late hours at night, formalizing a plan and a strategy to live out that sort of lifestyle that you dream about. And that to me is the route to unlocking your potential. Of course, once you've discovered your passion and you're going after it with like real hunger to the point where you're not looking at your 8 hours a night sleep. You're willing to sacrifice maybe 1 or 2 hours each night, staying up late or waking up in the morning. And I can guarantee in a few years' time, that will pay dividends in your lifestyle. 100%. That will be the difference between an existence and a life.
100%.
Because there's so many people living a life where they're just getting by. They're just waking up to that alarm clock every day, dreading that drive to work or that commute to work. And that, my friends, to me, is not living a life of your true potential. And we need to break that. And we need to believe in ourselves. And we need to feel worthy enough to step into our greatness and to demonstrate and realize our potential to the world. And I do honestly get so passionate about this, because Sim will tell you, I do quite a bit of work in secondary schools, and I see so much potential in these young next generation people. And it is my dream and my passion to help those unlock their potential. But without their belief in themselves, it's very difficult. Very difficult.
I mean, I've listened to what you've just said. It's reminded me of a talk that I listened to on YouTube by Miles Monroe, and I know I quote him a lot, but he's a great teacher.
Yeah, great guy.
Many great lessons, and this one was about the difference between your work and your job. And I know you've watched it, Cal.
I think you sent it me,
Yeah, a great watch. And guys, if you can, check it out on YouTube. Miles Monroe.
I think it was like one of his last sermons, wasn't it? Before he passed away.
And he goes into depth about exactly what Cal was saying about. He's basically saying that your job is what we go and get paid to do. Like Cal was saying, it's the place where you go just to make ends meet. Your work is what you're put on the earth to actually do.
Yeah.
What our purpose is.
It's within you.
Yes, that's your work. So please go and check out Miles Monroe work and job. I think
if you just put like last sermon on YouTube, there's like a condensed version, isn't there? Where some clever guys have put sort of a movie behind it, and it adds a real effect to what's being said.
It's more pleasing on the ear, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So we've spoken about unlocking your true potential, finding your passion. Once you've found your passion, you can then unlock your potential, believing in yourself, guys. And what comes after the belief, you then need to check your surroundings.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah.
What are you doing with your time? What energies are you inviting around yourself? Because again, life is all about energies. Yeah. It really is. It's a massive energy field.
Everything's energy.
And anything you put in, you get back out.
Yeah.
It's a simple. Whatever you put into your body, you get back out.
Yeah.
So really, really check your surroundings. Know what it is that you want, and if you know that doing certain things ain't gonna get you what you want, it's time to cut those things out, guys. Yeah. I'm talking to myself.
Don't be
as
afraid.
Well.
Yeah, don't be afraid.
I'm talking to myself. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of determination and
bravery,
grit.
effort. Yeah.
But as we always say, it takes 28 days to make a habit become the norm to the body.
Yeah.
So after 28 days, you can break that down one day at a time. That's the best way. You can do a week at a time.
Sometimes, do you know what I find, Sim, is sometimes the hardest thing is, when you sort of, you're discovering that you've got something about you. You've got something within you that's just dying to get out. And that is your sort of your potential. Mm-hmm. And in order to realize that potential, you may have to distance yourself from certain behaviors, habits, people.
Of course.
And what happens is sometimes those who you find that you've spent a lot of time around can sometimes feel a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for?
Draining?
Well, but they can also feel a little bit threatened by the fact that you're now realising your potential. It can make them sort of feel a little bit inadequate. Yeah. And it's almost like you're holding a mirror up to these people and saying, well, look, I'm going to start living out my true potential. So sometimes people around you can actually be like, well, does that mean then that you're basically saying that I'm not living out my potential and I'm not worthy and I'm inadequate? Yeah. And that's where I think the whole peer pressure comes into it.
Definitely.
So I see so many sort of 14 to 16-year-olds where I look at them and I know they've got huge potential, but I know they haven't got the strength to live out that potential because of what it might do to their sort of social surroundings. Yeah. They may get sort of ostracized, their friends may stop hanging around with them. Yeah. And for some people, that can be such a damaging sort of prospect that they give in and they retract and they think, well, okay, that's probably not the best thing for me because I don't want to be on my own and I don't want to be singled out. Yeah. So I'll just dim my own light, if that makes sense. So I'll just, put my light out to then stay around those that also haven't shone or are unwilling to sort of shine their own light.
It's interesting that you've just said that because I was thinking the other day, and it's about, again, everyone has their own light, so to speak. Everyone has their own light. So imagine that we're walking down a dark path. We all have our own light that can make us, it can make a beam ahead to give you vision of where you're going. And I don't know why I sat and was thinking like this, but a lot of people, even though they have their own light, they've switched it off, and it's like they're relying on the light of others.
Yeah.
And they're following them for guidance. When, hang on, you have your own light.
Yeah.
Switch on your own light. Follow your own destination. You
Yeah.
know, get to
Yeah.
your own destination, sorry. Follow your own light. And it's for want of company. Yeah, feeling left out, feeling like you're not part of the crew. But at the end of the day, if you know you want something and it's going to benefit you, it might hurt for the first week or two.
Yeah.
You know, being with a few less friends or feeling, wait, I'm on my own here. But if you know that's for you, being on your own is the right thing to do. And I can't tell you enough how much it will pay off. It will pay off.
Yeah, it will massively. And to me, the whole idea of giving into peer pressure and putting out your light just so you fit in is such a sad, worrying thing to think about, because why? I mean, I always question why somebody wouldn't want to live out the life that they've dreamt about in terms of their potential, and to get to your like deathbed and know that you've lived a life full of potential, and you've realized that potential, and you've maximized what's been given to you as a gift. Yeah. And not only that, by doing that, you've impacted so many other people positively that you can die peacefully. Yeah, exactly. You know, I've heard it said before, sort of live full, die empty. Yeah. Like, give it all you've got while you're here. Yeah. So why would you ever want to not live out to your fullest potential?
Exactly, yeah. Well, I remember when I was going through a stage of, I like to call it the transition phase, where you realize, you know what, I want more from life. Yeah. And this, whatever you're doing at that certain time in life, this is not what I want to be doing. Yeah. And one of the videos I remember watching, again, a YouTube video, was by Dr. Caroline Leaf, and it's how to detox your brain. And she literally talks around the steps of how to get from that stage of realizing you want more, and then going on day by day to get you to that, not the finish line, but a hell of a lot closer to the finish line. Get you in the place where you're ready to cross that finish line. And it's a good watch, guys. Dr. Caroline Leaf, How to Detox Your Brain. There's a part 1 and a part 2. And I advise you, again, that's another good watch.
Yeah, Caroline Leaf's fantastic. Yeah.
So
is Caroline, I'm sure Caroline Leaf, is she the one that was like, she was a scientist, and she was very against all this sort of philosophical approach and spirituality, but then she dug down a little bit deeper.
That's the one. Yeah.
Now she's kind of come around to the whole idea.
Yeah, she has. That's the one. A very, very, very interesting watch. Go check it out. So we've covered quite a lot. We've covered, you know, how you are a powerful person. Believe in yourself. We've covered cutting out negative influences or anything that's negative around you that's not going to get you to where you need to be. We've covered seeking out what inspires you and staying inspired. And, surrounding yourself. Well, we're going to get to this one now. Yeah, surrounding yourself with like-minded people. Yeah. So
massive tip.
We've said, take yourself away from negativity. Well, that's not the end. You know what I mean? You don't have to be alone forever. Yeah. What you can now go and do.
This is something I struggled with.
Yeah. Is now what you can now go and do is go and find people on the same wavelength. Yeah. And once you actually start doing what you want to do, that you'll find that these people actually find you.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, because I know it's the law of attraction. We've said it so many times.
Exactly.
I say I struggled with this, and for maybe a year of my life, I felt, you know, I'm not afraid to admit it now, but I was quite lonely. Yeah. You realise that you want better, and you want to achieve and want to take your life to new levels. But then suddenly you find yourself on your own, and you're sort of questioning, well, hold on a minute. Then if I'm in this sort of lonely place, how then do I attract the people in my life that are then going to take me to that next level? Yeah. And one thing I will say is, yes, the law of attraction, and you will inevitably attract what sort of energy you put out there. But my biggest bit of advice is to get out there. Yeah. You know, you are not going to attract the people you need to attract by sitting in your bedroom or sitting at home. No. You need to get yourself out there. Yeah. There's plenty of personal development events around. You've just got to look for them. One thing I always use is Eventbrite. So I have the Eventbrite app, and every week I'll just scan my local area. What I find is our local area in the Midlands, we often have to travel.
We do,
places like London, Manchester.
I found the same, yeah.
So it is difficult, but saying that, you will stumble across some events that are local to you. If you are living in Manchester and London, then very lucky. You've probably got them on sort of a monthly basis. Yeah. But don't be afraid to travel. Even then,
no,
have a day trip to London. Make the most of it. Go down there. Have a weekend down there. You're down there, so you may as well make the most of it.
Yeah.
And you'll go to these events. And I know when I first started to go into personal development events, it was quite daunting because when you've been around even family members that kind of look at you as if to say, just be happy doing what you're doing. You've got an okay job. You're comfortable. Keep living that comfortable lifestyle. Yeah. One holiday a year. You've got an okay car. You've got an okay house. But you want more. And when you go to these personal development events and suddenly you're around people that are either well on their path or they've already achieved it, they don't see those barriers. They will sort of intimidate you almost to the point when you feel or you hear yourself fighting for your limitations. You're coming up with every excuse in the book. Oh, but I wish I could start my own business, but I can't because I've got kids. Yeah. I've already got a full-time job. Yeah, I've got a mortgage. I've got a partner that relies on my salary. Yeah. And they don't hear it. They just don't hear it. And they just say, but they're just excuses. And when you fight for your excuses, as Les Brown says, you get to keep them.
Exactly. Exactly.
And it's almost embarrassing because I came away from my first one thinking, wow, I've never realised how strong I'm willing to fight for my reasons for not living out my true potential.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was a mirror up to me to basically say, is this really who you are? Well, if that's the case, then go and live your mediocre life. Leave your potential. Leave that. Shut that treasure chest. It's never going to be opened again. So get out there. Go and seek these people and just talk to them. And even if you do feel a little bit intimidated, that will die down. The more time you spend around these people,
the better you'll become, I guess.
Exactly.
And then you bounce off each other. You start to, the energy, you can feel it when you're with somebody that's on the same wavelength, Cal. And I go back to even before we started meeting at the church. Me and Cal, we've known each other for years. We went to the same school. For those of you who have not heard it before, we went to the same school. We've been around each other. We've played for the same football team. But we didn't know that each other felt or thought about the things that we do. Hence the stuff, the conversations that we're covering now. We used to go to football, have a laugh, have a few drinks afterwards.
It's quite funny that we're doing this about potential because actually, we played for the same football team. We also played against each other a couple of times. And quite often or not, I had to mark Sim. And I used to think in my head when I was playing, wow, that guy's got so much potential. So you may have not even thought that yourself, so how many other people are looking at you or our listeners and wishing they had that potential? So never doubt yourself.
There you go,
Never doubt yourself.
Yeah, you can't. And like I was saying, we didn't know that we both thought the way we did. I just thought, good lad, we play football, we have banter, we have drinks together, and that's it. But no, there's so much more to this guy, and there's so much more to me that he didn't know. But once we started to get on that path that we wanted, we found this out about each other, and it's been a blast. I'm not going to lie. I've loved it, mate.
It is. It's getting, like you say, Sim, it's getting around like-minded people, and they will help you unlock that potential. And not only unlock it, but what I've found is the people that are well on their journey, or the people that are established, and those that you could consider to be very successful, they're not selfish people.
No.
They love to help people. They love to show people the way. That's what I've found. And it's up to you then how much of what you're learning from these people that you want to go away and put into practice. That was my major downfall. I read all the books. I spent hours and hours, hundreds of hours on YouTube. But then my problem is it was going and putting what I've learned into practice.
Which is normally the hardest part for most people.
And this is where the conversations that myself and Sim had all those months ago, we suddenly started to unlock each other's potential because we were discussing things and we were bouncing off each other. And then that little light bulb just starts to flicker.
It does.
And then it starts to get a little bit brighter. And the more you talk to each other and the more you realise, actually, we've got something here, then bang, the light bulb's on. And when you get to that point where the light bulb's on, that's when you need to make the decision. am I going to keep this bulb on? Am I going to keep this light shining? Or am I going to step back into the shadows and recess almost and just live a mediocre life? And I got close to that point, but then by having a support network, i.e. Sim, to keep that sort of fire burning and keep the hunger going.
And vice versa.
That's the critical thing. And that's what worries me. I think there's a lot of people out there, particularly young people, that they have that potential. And unfortunately, they don't have that support system. We've spoken about parenting and social situations. You know, how many people growing up as kids did we see that could have made it into the world of football, and they just didn't have the family setup to get driven around all the corners of the UK on the weekends and midweeks. They just couldn't do it, and yet they had the potential.
Of course, yeah. It makes me think back to when I was playing at a decent level. I used to be at Burton, and there was lads there that, you know, we were 17. They just passed their test, and no disrespect. So I'm happy that their parents could do this for them, but just passed their test. Cars bought for them instantly. Driving to and from training, and you've got me and my mate who, you know, not so well off, but catching buses, running like crazy, making it late for training, and we're getting grilled by the coaches saying, "Why are you?" I'm thinking they've just driven from home to, you know what I mean? There's no in between. So I say that to say this, basically, like, you know, so some people have more support than others. Don't hate those people, because you want that to be you and yours in the future. Don't hate them. Well, just, it is what it is. Take it as it is. And work with what you've got, basically. You know what I mean? Just work with what you've got and move forwards.
That's all you have to do, really, isn't it? Like, I'm just going to say to Sim, like, I think we've given a lot of sort of useful hints and tips to sort of unlock your potential here. But like with anything, the true unlocking of your potential lies within you. You are the beholder of the key. And once you've mastered that key and you've built that inner belief and drive, you've found your passion, then you could say excuses, but really there's nothing holding you back. There's only your own mindset and only the lies that you've been telling yourself and the fears that just, they're baseless, really. There's no sort of solid evidence. So don't listen to that negative sort of thought patterns that are going on inside, and distance yourself from anything that's going to stop you living out your true potential. Because at the end of the day, you've got one life, and the people that are around you today who may be pulling you back may not be around in 5, 10, 15 years time. I'd hope that they're on their own journey, living and unlocking their own potential, because that's the goal of life, really, isn't it? Okay, so I don't know if you've got any final thoughts just to sort of leave our listeners with, Sim, before we sort of wrap this up. Just to re-emphasize what we've gone over again. So I've got 5 little points here, and basically I'll start from 1. Obviously, you are powerful beyond measure, and it's time to start believing in yourself. That's the first one. Definitely.
Secondly, cut out any negative influences. You know, whether that be the media, whether that be music you're listening to, company, whatever that might be, cut it out. Then after that, you want to seek out what inspires you and stay inspired. We're all going to get knocks. We're human. I say this almost every week, I believe. But bounce back, stay inspired. Surround yourself with people that have a positive vibe and can bring out the best in you. And finally, don't make any excuses. Be honest and true to yourself and those around you, and you will unlock your true potential. So thanks, man. Yeah, man,
I just want to wrap up with one last final thing to leave you with. And like, they were some 5 very sort of powerful messages that hopefully, if I was listening to this, I would quickly grab my pen and paper and write them down, or at least just save this last 5 minutes of the podcast just for those 5 messages. But one thing I want to say to the listeners today is I've read a book recently, and I think it's called The Last Arrow. And it's all about, you know, putting your all into life and leaving sort of no stone unturned, making sure you fired your last arrow before you sort of pass away. And one thing the book says was, when you're looking at a bow and arrow, the potential of the arrow is only created by pulling back on the bow. And we've just talked about some of the listeners who may not have that support network. Try, if you can, to see that as a positive.
Yeah.
If you can still get through that and not accept that as a limitation, you're building the mental resilience to get through the worst days. Maybe the kids who have had the lifts here, there and everywhere to go to dance practice, football practice, gymnastics, martial arts. They've had all the money there to buy the latest designer stuff or the sports equipment that they need, the best football boots. One day they will hit some roadblocks, and mummy and daddy aren't always going to be around. So the fact that you may be in an environment where you haven't sort of got that silver spoon in your mouth, try and use that as a positive, because there will be moments in life where it will require you to have the mental resilience and fortitude to push on. And if you're used to doing that, then guess what? You're going to smash through anything in life.
Exactly.
So just think back to the bow and arrow and the idea that the potential of that arrow is only created by pulling back on that bow. And the idea being that once that bow is released, that arrow will fly through and hit the target and smash whatever it's intended to hit.
I agree with that, mate.
And you are that arrow. So in life, it's going to take some knockbacks and you're going to get pulled back. But once you get through that and you release yourself to live a life of your true potential, I believe that anything is possible.
Yeah. Well said, mate. Well said. I couldn't have put it better myself. Brilliant.
Okay, guys, that's a wrap. So thank you very much for tuning in again. As always, your support is really appreciated. We really, really do like the feedback that comes through. It helps us make the podcasts even more relative. So if you do have any feedback or comments, I'll hand you over to Sim to take you through our social media platforms.
Yes, thank you again, guys. And our platforms are, first we've got our email. It's the AABB Team. That's the AABB Team @gmail.com. We're also on YouTube. You can catch us at AABB Team. Please subscribe to our channel. Also, we're on the Instagram, and it's the AABB Team again. That's the AABB Team YouTube, Instagram. Thank you, guys.
Cheers, guys.
This podcast was recorded and edited by Prince Bazza.